Good day there, lads and ladettes. It is time for the 500 subscriber special Q&A, questions and answers. I prepared for this one. I made sure to copy and paste all of the questions that people have asked me into a Word document that I then took a picture of on my phone so that I can read you the questions and the subscribers have asked them, as well as give my answers on it. And then also I'm going to do live on camera, I'm going to do a wheel spin for the winner. I didn't particularly think that any of the questions really stood out from everyone else's. It's pretty run-of-the-mill questions, interesting nonetheless, and some based on very, very good observation, which is always a nice thing. But I just felt that with so few questions asked over the last few weeks, that it is not in anyone's best interest to just pick a winner, because it can be extremely subjective at that point. So I thought, you know what, just add everyone's name to a wheel. There's only going to be a first prize because of the fact that there's less than 10 questions. But at least it's going to be fair. Once we spin the wheel, there's going to be a winner announced, and then that person can just make contact with me on email, which is, I'm going to leave a link to my email address in the description. That person can just send me an email and we can chat from there and see how best to get the voucher to that person, with the voucher of your choice. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. Klonky64 asks, best place or spot you fished that's local to you, and then also favorite other spots in the country. To be honest with you, I haven't really fished in many places. The furthest I've gone is probably Redmang, which is just short of Mossel Bay. But that would have to rank as my favorite fishing spot as yet. Now there's been a couple of good ones, like the cliffs just outside Gordon's Bay has been a favorite of mine. It was dangerous, and I donated a cell phone to the ocean that day, but it was exhilarating while being quite fun. And to rock hop and pull yourself up and down cliffs at 135 kilograms. It was fun, but the legs felt it the following day. Other than that, all the other fishing spots that I tend to go to just serves a purpose. You know, other standouts would probably be Struisbaai, Stilbaai. I've never fished in Arniston. I'd like to. I would like to go to the Damme outside of Gansbaai, and I would like to give the Hermanus Plaat a good fist at some point as well. But I don't really have a lot of experience in these places, and I'm hoping that doing the whole competition fishing thing will actually provide me with a lot of these experiences that I'm craving for. I'd obviously like to go back to Redmang and go fish the river mouth over there, but that will happen in due course. Next question. Jaco Kurtse 1123 asks, wat's 'n vloekwoord dat jy regtig gesê het toe daai vis afkom? Now it's referring to my latest video, where, and it's actually a good spot, because I knew that I was busy recording, and the first word that I said I did cut, and then I went on saying something else thereafter, and I layered before that actual word came out. I layered ocean sound from a previous part of the clip over the actual word that I said. Now it was a very long F-U-C-K, very long. It came out of my belly to the point where Mr. Goosen next to me looked at me funny. It was just something in frustration that came out. because obviously you've been struggling in the wind the whole day, and you finally have something on the line. You can feel that it's busy fighting you. It's big. It's going to be points on the scorecard, and then right before the edge, it's gone. It's as if it was never there. It was so frustrating. So good question, nice spot. Right, so Glenn Robertson asks, which wind app and fishing apps are in your opinion the most accurate? I have no opinion on any of these. The way that I look at weather apps, for instance, is that anyone that looks at weather, and it's just my opinion, but anyone that looks at weather 4 to 5 days in advance, it's not a good idea to plan accordingly. You can always have a plan on where you would like to go. If it is in, let's say, 150 to 200 kilometer radius of yourself, you can go anywhere where you want to. But weather conditions and tides and everything else is obviously going to play a role. So why limit yourself and dedicate yourself to a specific place 5 days in advance based on a weather report that can change at any given moment? For instance, a good example of this would be over the weekend, the app that I was using was Tides for Fishing, and it is a desktop thing. Now you can do it on your phone. You can visit the website and you can go and have a look there, and you can go and look at Makassar, Strand, those areas, and you can see what the tides look like and what the wind conditions might look like. And based on what I've seen, the wind was supposed to be lesser on Sunday than it was on Saturday. But as it turned out, yes, there were gale force winds on Saturday, but it wasn't exactly easy on Sunday either. And there were periods on Sunday where the wind died down considerably. Now, this is things that the weather apps cannot predict. Sudden changes in atmospheric pressure can cause winds to die down and whatnot. So I don't put too much stock in it. I use it as a frame of reference when I do decide where I want to go fish. And the fishing apps itself, you know what, I just do my research to try and find out what you can catch in what areas. I don't put too much stock in, this specific spot is a Galjoen spot, this specific spot is a Steenbras spot, and this one is a Korp spot. Sure, if it's got hard structure underneath, you're going to be able to find those fish there all the time. But if you are fishing sandbanks, those things move and shift with large tides, weather conditions, big winds, surges, that sort of thing. New banks open up, other banks close. So you can't necessarily say that this spot is a Cobb hard spot unless you are working with solid structure like rock and reef, for instance. So fishing apps, I don't put too much stock in. Weather apps, I tend to delay my decision on where I want to go up to the very last minute almost. And the only wind app that I put a lot of stock into is an app called Windy. Because on the morning, if I want to decide where I want to go to, because the wind on that thing is updated on the fly, I can very easily go and have a look at the entire coast, all the way from Kalk Bay down to Betty's Bay, and I can have a look and see how the wind is blowing, which direction it is blowing, to go pick a beach that I need to go at so that the wind is at least in your back when you want to cast. Otherwise you might go to a specific spot, and because of the wind coming around a mountain like this, it might end up blowing straight into your face when you want to cast. So Windy is by far the most accurate app, but also on the day. I would basically use Windy if you know, for instance, that you need wind to come from a specific angle for Cobb to be at a specific spot. You can use Windy to monitor wind for a few days and see when the wind turns, and then make a decision as to when you want to go do your Cobb fishing. It can be on a Thursday or a Wednesday or whatever, but then you catch it at that time because of the Windy app telling you that winds to shift. For most of us weekend warriors, we don't have that luxury. So Windy tend to help me in spotting places where I wouldn't have to fight wind as hard as in other places. So hopefully that answers your question. Dion Tong asks, Flam, To date, what has been your favorite fishing spot? Grootmond. Plain straightforward. I love everything about the place. From the beach section, which affords you some steep drop-offs into the water, that on low tide can feel quite shallow when you're standing on the beach. But as the water pushes up, it basically fills up as if it's creating a hole in front of you. And even though the water looks choppy and strong and whatever, your sinkers stay put reasonably well. It's as if the undercurrents isn't that great, but what you see on top of the water is working. And what I love about it is, while I was on that beach, even when the weather conditions weren't perfect, the wind conditions weren't perfect, I could still feel fish in the water. Now, what I did wrong as to why I didn't get any of the fish that was in the water, that I would still need to investigate. It could have been hooks, it could have been flotation that I didn't need, it could have been flotation that I was needing, it could be the fact that my sinkers were too heavy, it was too grabby, there needed to be more free movement of the bait in the sinker and the water. I don't know, but I would like to go and explore that again. And then as you move further west down the shore, there's all sorts of rock fishing spots that you can go to, sand fishing spots, little beaches that open up, for Galjoen, Hottentot, Red Roman, whatever you want to throw for. There's lots of spots around there. So the coast stretch all the way from where we used to live, or where we stayed in Grootmond, down to the little blow AC. It's about 10 kilometers, 10-15 kilometers of uninterrupted fishing spots everywhere. So you pick your poison and you just go. I absolutely adore that place. Quiet, safe, and I do assume in summer some excellent fishing. Then Owen Jason asks, what was the biggest fish you and your dad caught? Oh, that's a good one. We never did saltwater angling. The biggest fish we caught was probably a double-digit carp. It was humongous. Now I know that in the UK they put a lot of stock in catching personal stock. They put a lot of personal stock in catching 30, 40, 50 pound carp. 50 pound carp is like the holy grail kind of thing. Now 50 pound carp is about 23-ish kilograms. It's huge. Now I remember growing up that there was this whole drive to clean up the Zeekoevlei, and a lot of water got pumped out to the point where our favorite spot where we always went to was just a little bit further up Zeekoevlei shore, almost as you hit the bend going towards the ski club. And there were always reeds left and right of the spot with a little grass bank, and then the water would literally be coming up towards the grass bank. Very little walking needed to be done over sand flats to get to the water. And after one of those cleanups, the water dropped so far that we needed to walk in about 20 to 30 meters before we get to water. Then we would walk in another 20-30 meters until water was at least knee high before we would put in a decent cast to get the bait out, wherever it needed to go. But we didn't catch with fancy stuff. It was a 2-ounce bottle sinker, no ground baits, no nothing. My dad's mustard J hooks, massive hooks. How the carp managed to swallow those, only they will know. And not these little small hooks that the carp fishermen use nowadays. And hair rigs and none of those. We didn't even put swivels on our line. It was literally straight mono, sinker at the end, with somewhere above the sinker you would have a piece of line coming out, and you would have your hook on there. Maybe even 2 hooks if you were yeah, kitty. Maybe even 2 hooks if you were feeling adventurous. But the bait we used was basically bread and egg mixture. No curry, no vanilla essence, no nothing. Brown bread without the crust and egg. That's it. We make little bait balls and stick it on the hooks and throw that out. And we were successful with it. I don't know if fish became full of nonsense over time that people needed to resort to hair rigs and small little hooks with floaties and ground baits and whatever. But back then we used to catch carp by the dozens, just with simple setups and bread and egg mixture. And that specific day, I can remember it was very quiet. Almost no fish came out. But towards the end, right before my dad would normally pack up at about 1 o'clock, it would feel like it's 5 o'clock, but it's only 1. This big pull happened. But he was also the kind of guy, he never relaxed his drag and stuff on the line, nothing like that. Nothing like the things that we would do when we go saltwater angling, and that the professional carp fishermen would do. And at that point, that fish grabbed that thing and it literally tried to pull the eyes off the rod as it was going through the little metal mickeys. And it was incredible. And then my dad fought that thing to the shore. I'm saying fought, but let's be honest here. My dad was catching carp with what is essentially winch cable. It must have been like 0.7 millimeter mono or something. So there was no... If a carp chowed that mustard hook on a 0.7 millimeter mono line, you can make that fish surf to shore, no matter how big it is. There's no sport in it. And when it landed, my dad had a very rudimentary little scale that he needed to spray with Q20 regularly to just get the thing to work properly. And when he measured it, it came to about 26 or 27 pounds, still the old measuring units like from the 60s or something, right before kilograms became a thing. And we then did the calculation when we gone home. It was like an 11 or 12 kilogram carp. So yes, long answer to give you context. But the biggest fish I've ever caught was about me and my dad caught was about 11 to 12 kilos. Personally, the biggest one I caught, I would say, was recently on a night fishing expedition with a crazy fisherman. My leopard shark that I pulled out. That thing I would suggest is probably bigger than any of the cob and stuff that I've caught so far. I haven't caught many big fish yet doing saltwater angling, but I'm going to, and very soon as well. Wayne van Dijk asks, what is your real name and what type of fish would you say was your biggest success? It's going to sound strange. Not my real name thing. The real name, look, I don't mind sharing it with people. My real name is Gert, G-E-R-T. My biggest success, and it's going to sound weird, it's the first cob that I caught, because we were out in Betty's Bay and nothing pretty much happened the whole day. We had a few bites and stuff at Blowdam, but nothing really happened there. And then we were moving up and down the beach. We tried to go to Davidskraal. They advised us not to go in there because it was too windy with a lot of kelp in the water. So we decided to go to Main Beach. And at Main Beach, as I walked out, I noticed that there's this, it was almost instinct. My water reading, capability is not great, but it was so obvious that there was this gutter running straight away from me on the beach, between two sandbanks, that I felt if there's going to be cob in the water, I may just as well throw my line in that gutter that's running straight away from me. And true as Bob, standing there in front of someone sunbathing about 2 meters away from them, slapping choka with like a madman, I didn't care. Putting it on that hook with a bit of flotation, throwing it out there, and then 5 minutes later ending up with a cob. It wasn't size, but I count that as my biggest success because it came as a combination of the right spot move, the right water reading, the right bait, the right time of day, and you just had that feeling that doing what you've done to this point, something is going to happen, and then it happened. So I count that as my biggest success so far, with regards to angling. My biggest success in general since I started saltwater angling, it's everything. It is getting out there on a weekly basis, setting my mind at ease, resetting myself for the following week, just having a little bit of fun with like-minded people, making new friends, meeting new friends along the way that's got the same interest as you, not just with YouTube but with angling, and just building a circle of friends essentially. And now obviously being in Tigerberg Rock and Surf Club as well, that to me is also a big deal because I've always been a competitive person, but I'm not doing this to physically compete with guys that's been doing it for 30 years. I'm doing this to learn so that I can do better, so that I can measure my successes against my past self. You need to find your competition where you can get it. Robert G asks, what is the furthest you would want to travel for a fishing expedition? Thanks for sending that email, Robert. I personally believe the world's my oyster. If I can afford it, I'll go anywhere. I'll go to Lake Bled in Poland for all I care. I'll go to Angola, I'll go to Mozambique. I'm not a big boat person though. But I'd like to go to places where the shore angling is good. I wouldn't even mind going to visit someone like a Roger Osborne in Australia and throwing a few lines with him. Now that's a crossover you wouldn't expect. I don't think I have a specific place that would be out of reach for me. It's all going to come down to finances and time. And when the two meet, I'll be able to make anything work. For instance, this year, myself and the family, we're heading to Namibia. You can stick around for that one. It's going to be epic because I will be fishing places like Swakopmund, Henties Bay, further up the road, a little bit further down the road, past Walvis Bay. I'll be exploring a few places, and there is going to probably be a collaboration with someone that people may or may not even know of that is in Namibia, called a certain Mr. Mayu, with his YouTube channel. He does a lot of carp fishing as well, but he also dabbles a little bit in saltwater angling, and we are looking to meet up when I get to Namibia, which is going to be nice, really nice, making a new friend. And yeah, like I said, limited by budget and time only, that's it. Just to be sure that people can see this. There's a little thing tick there that says fair mode, to make sure that there's no interruption, that there's nothing here that is where I am picking my own winner. I put the 7 names in there. I'm now going to go to spin, and I'm going to click spin now to see who the winner is. Mr. Glenn Robertson. Awesome sauce. You can hit me up with the email that I'm going to leave in the description down below, and I will make sure that you get your 500 Rand voucher for whatever shop that you need it for. Congratulations. Now guys, until the next subscriber special, which hopefully won't take as long to reach as this one. I mean, subscribers tend to go a little bit faster once you reach certain targets, so 500's been breached. Let's make the next one happen at 1,000. Let's see if we can't get some bigger prizes happening for that one. Stay good, stick around. We've got a Stray Spy trip this weekend for which I'm very, very excited about. See you on Monday.